Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. We have ourselves a two-day narrow range that is developed here heading into day 2 of the week. We have we finished developing a very narrow range in the previous session after a high range day. Looking down here at the one-day ADR indicator, the tendency here is after you see a narrow range day, you tend to see a high range day that follows. So if you look back on the indicator, for example, low range day, high range day, low range, you get a series of high, low, high, back here, low, high, and now you have back-to-back low days here, or at least one developing here. The expectation is perhaps you get another high range day. Sometimes a low range day can lead to 2 days in a row where you have 2-day narrow range and then you see the big day come the next day. Last week we had a pretty solid first trading day of the week. Monday, Tuesday, or rather Tuesday, Wednesday went mostly quiet, and then we had one big Friday move. This could be very similar here, where it kind of holds this week and then we have kind of a lift heading into the holiday extended weekend. Again, given the fact that we have pushed higher out of this narrow range, and we continue to hold above the previous month's low, any early pullback here could be a higher low opportunity for a continuation up in the very near term. Keeping in mind that the overall downtrend has remained intact, and a short-term move higher could be short-term. It could be met with resistance, and then we could see another round of weakness that takes us back toward new lows on the year. So again, this short-term strength here is very short-term oriented. And right now we are seeing a little bit of rejection at the previous session's low price. That rejection occurring actually last night in overnight trading. And it was a pretty solid rejection at that level. And we saw a very quick return back toward the highs. But again, very narrow range and not much going on at the moment. The previous session's close is in play, 39.10. That's a level that's being bid right now over the last several hours, and again, to hold that level could open up some upside. Again, pushing through the previous session's highs could open up a continuation here that could open up 4,000 up ahead. So if today turns out to be a fairly decent sized day, we could be looking at 100 plus points of range, somewhere between 100 and 130 points of range. But if we remain narrow ranged within this 2-day narrow range here, the range literally could be in for the day. We could be looking at a new high that takes us back into the low. The low could take us back up into the high, and we could be looking at fading the edges. So again, right now, 2-day narrow range developing with a rejection at the previous session's low. There is the potential to open up some upside, but right now not seeing a whole lot of get up and go out of this market. Taking a look here at the NQ, similar price action here. Narrow range in the previous session here. That narrow range could be followed by a high range day today, or it could become a 2-day narrow range development. And after this big breakout here again on Friday, we are holding those gains here. We did see a nice rejection at the previous session's low. That rejection again, very well defined, a strong rotation away from that level once it happened to a new high. But again, we're still inside the range, chopping around the previous session's close price. So we could continue to develop a 2-day range here. We still have some upside to get to the previous high. We could still retest the previous low. But again, a 2-day narrow range is developing within the upward flow of the short-term trend. Taking a look at crude oil. Crude oil up right now 1.4% at the moment. Continuing to extend gains here off after the recent lows here, 101.50, and we've seen this thing quietly chug higher. Again, the market structure level here is 115, and the lower edge is 95. So if we come up into this zone and start to fail, a lower high could develop that could begin to bring us right back down. So again, we're inside this lower range here, and until we recapture prices above 115, the upside could be capped into about that 115 level. But right now, showing some strength, showing some follow through here, day over day with higher highs, higher lows, but coming into overhead resistance here very soon in the 115 zone. Taking a look at Bitcoin now. Bitcoin still remains within a very narrow range. Again, this is one that hasn't gotten any lift. That narrow range continues to develop, and at some point here we could be looking at the next slam move ahead. This thing continues to chop around the June 15th FOMC statement and rate decision date. That level is 21,050. Again, building some energy here, which likely gets unloaded to the downside here. That's just been the way this thing has gone. So until this thing can put together some back-to-back days of real strength, we are likely going to see this thing remain sideways with a shot to drop further still. Taking a look at Ether futures, this one's up 2+% right now. Very similar price action here. You can see this one showing a little bit more strength compared to Bitcoin. It had 2 back-to-back days of strength. Here's an inside day, hold day, and then we had a very strong rejection on these lows at the same time that we were seeing strong rejections in the broader equity futures market. So again, that rejection here is leading to a 2-day range in an upward flow. You can certainly see where this one's trying to see some strength up ahead. But again, upper resistance here has been in play. You have a very clear range-bound market here, and at some point we'll get a bigger move out of this range. And while the very, very short term looks bullish here, again, this market hasn't had success in maintaining strength. It has seen big-time wipeouts and a continuation lower. So until this thing can really start to find itself back above 1400, we still have a downward bias with a narrow range that could release energy to the downside at some point sooner than later. Alright, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.